We all want to build a good life, but what does that really mean? Today we're going to talk about a kind of quiet internal framework for doing just that, a system that applies to every single one of us no matter our age. Okay, let's dive in. So let's start with some pretty fundamental questions. Things like, how do I handle my emotions? Or how do I make good choices? These probably sound familiar, right? They're the kind of questions that pop up whether you're a kid, a teenager, or a grown-up.
And then there are the tougher ones. How do I deal with failure, with conflict, or with pressure? These are the challenges that, they don't exactly come with an instruction manual.
These things touch every single part of our lives, from our jobs to our families. And trying to figure out how to live well with other people, how to find that sense of balance, well, that's a constant puzzle we're all trying to solve.
And what's so fascinating is that even though the way we talk about these problems changes over time, the core questions, they never really go away. They stick with us through our entire lives.
Our world is really good at teaching us external skills. We learn how to perform, how to compete, how to achieve things. But it often leaves us to figure out our internal world all on our own. How to understand why we react the way we do, or how to just pause before we act. That's on us. And that can create this strange gap, can't it? Where we can get older and collect more skills and be really successful on the outside, but not necessarily feel any more prepared on the inside. We don't always gain more wisdom. The thing is, behind every single one of our actions, there's this invisible system at work. It's like an inner architecture that's quietly shaping how we respond to stress, how we treat other people, and yet, even how we make decisions when nobody else is looking. And this gets to the absolute heart of it. A good life isn't something that just happens to us by chance. It isn't an accident. It's something that is structured, that is built from the inside out.
So, this inner structure, it's built on three really simple but incredibly powerful pillars. The first is awareness, then comes choice, and finally responsibility. Let's start with that first one and see how this all fits together.
Okay, awareness. This is the foundation. It's basically the simple act of learning to notice what's going on inside of us, what we're feeling, why we're reacting, without immediately judging it. It creates this tiny, crucial little pause between a feeling and our reaction.
And you can see this in action at every stage of life. It could be a child who learns to recognize that feeling of anger before they act out, or an adult who notices their own fear before they try to control a situation, or even an elder who recognizes their pride before they refuse help they might actually need.
Now, in that little space that awareness creates, we find the second pillar, choice. And this isn't about controlling other people or the world around us. It's about something much more powerful, controlling our own response. And these aren't usually big, dramatic, movie-style decisions. We're talking about the small, ordinary, day-to-day choices. But those little choices, when they're made again and again, they compound over a lifetime and shape absolutely extraordinary outcomes. And that brings us to our third pillar, responsibility. Now, this one can sound heavy, but it's not about blame or shame. It's about gracefully owning our impact, seeing how our actions affect others, and then learning from that without punishing ourselves.
When you look at it that way, responsibility becomes the key to real, genuine personal growth. It gives us a way to hold ourselves accountable without that constant fear of humiliation, and that's what makes it possible to change and evolve.
Now, here's where you can really see the tangible difference this all makes in our relationships. When these principles are missing, love can turn into control, and authority can turn into fear. But when they're present, trust grows, conflict actually becomes constructive. It's a night and day difference.
This internal structure also builds something else that's so important, resilience. And we're not talking about just being tough or unfeeling. True resilience is about being able to go through difficult things without becoming bitter, to fail without completely collapsing, and to succeed without losing your humility. It's about being grounded.
And what's so cool is that these principles, awareness, choice, responsibility, they stay with us, but they look different as we grow. For a child, it's about learning emotions and fairness. For a teenager, it's about identity and boundaries. As an adult, it's about balance and restraint. And for an elder, it becomes about perspective and letting go. The system grows with us. So ultimately, no matter how much the world changes around us, the quality of our life really does come back to these internal practices. It comes down to our awareness of ourselves, the choices we make consciously, and the responsibility we take on willingly.
Maybe the goal of it all isn't some huge, grand achievement. Maybe it's something much quieter, much simpler. Maybe it's just about trying to act with awareness, to choose with care, and to live responsibly with the people around us.
Because when those simple things are there, life just becomes steadier and kinder. So that leaves us with one final thought to reflect on. What small choice could you make today that would make life just a little bit better, for you and for those around you?